What's up, everyone? We're going to be going through the best NBA player props on PrizePicks today. Now, don't forget to like this video, as it does let me know to continue to give you free picks every day. So make sure to like this video, clicking that button down below. And if we get 600 likes, I will do another video for tomorrow. Now, I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group. And as you guys see, we actually got 20 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. So we're on a huge hot streak. But if you want to get 20 picks right like me, win more bets, and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon. Should be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $900 just yesterday. Another member who won $150 for the 6th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description. So go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group, and I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So quick shout out to LC Jones KD1if, who said you helped me win tonight, so shouts out to him. And shouts out to Osaka Della, who said 96% with the strong emoji. So shouts out to them, and if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below in this video and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. All right, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're going to talk about is none other than LaMelo Ball for 28.5 points, rebounds, and assists, and this one is for more. Now, looking at LaMelo Ball, we actually have seen him go on the over in 3 out of the last 5 games. Looking at those 5 games, you see on January 3rd, faced off against the Milwaukee Bucks, actually had 20 points, rebounds, and assists there, or 21, sorry. Then had a 30 PRA against Chicago Bulls on January 4th. On January 6th, faced off against Oklahoma City Thunder, had a 20 points, rebounds, and assists. Then 29 PRA against Toronto Raptors on January 8th. And then January 9th, faced off against Indiana Pacers and had a 44 PRA there. So, looking at that, we have seen actually LaMelo Ball, as I've mentioned, go on the over in 3 out of the last 5. And his average over the last 5 is also 28.8, so slightly above this line as well. Now, looking at this matchup, LaMelo is coming off a pretty great game against Indiana, but Charlotte have themselves a very good matchup against the Utah Jazz. Now, looking at where both these teams do actually lie, starting off with Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte Hornets come in at the 12th spot in the Eastern Conference. They actually have a record of 13 wins and 25 losses. That's a 34.2% win percentage there. And on top of that, they are 7-12 from home, 6-13 from away, and are currently on a 2-game losing streak. So, very interesting to see there. Now, they face off against Utah Jazz, as we mentioned. And looking at Utah Jazz, Jazz come in at the 13th spot in the Western Conference, and they have a record of 13 wins and 24 losses. So that's a 35.1% win percentage there. They're also 9-11 from home, 4-13 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So, very interesting to see from them there. Now, looking at Utah Jazz defensively and where they do rank, it is pretty interesting to see, because starting off with actually, Utah's points allowed, we do see that Utah Jazz rank 30th, actually allowing 126.7 points per game. So they actually rank last there. Moving on from that, we also see against in Utah Jazz, or Utah Jazz, when it comes to assists allowed, we see that they actually allow 30.1 assists allowed, which ranks them 30th. So they are actually lost there as well. And then rebounds allowed, we also do see that Utah Jazz come in at the 22nd spot and allow 45 rebounds per game. So unfortunately, looking at Utah Jazz, we have seen them do very poorly at restricting points, rebounds, and assists. And that's just a no-brainer on why we do like the over for this situation here. For someone like, Charlotte, and especially, LaMelo Ball, he does play that guard position, and we also do see that Utah do a pretty poor job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the guard position as well. So we definitely see that playing a huge factor here. Now, when we look at someone like LaMelo as well and Charlotte, we do know they like to play a really fast-paced type basketball. On top of that, so do Utah Jazz. So coming into this game, we are expecting a very fast-paced game. And as we always always mention, faster paced game leads to more volume, and more volume leads to more opportunity to score, rebound, and play make. So that's why coming into this next one, we do very much like the over for this one for someone like LaMelo Ball. Now, when we look at the matchup between Charlotte and Utah, we also do see, looking at what the pros do have to say, we have him for points, rebounds, and assists. Now, we actually have him for 28.5. They also have him for 28.5. But we do see that they have him favored for the over as well. So they actually have him favored for the over when it comes to what the bookies are thinking. And that's definitely due to the fact that when it comes to this matchup, they face off against a poorly defensive Jazz team coming into this game. Now, when we look at the projection as well, it also is agreeing with us there because the projection that they do have is 41.3 points, rebounds, and assists, which is significantly on the over. So that's very, very much over. And we also have seen in the last 15 games, he's actually been able to go on the over in 73.3% of those matchups. So coming into this next one, we shouldn't see any problem from LaMelo Ball there. We definitely do very much like the over for this one for someone like LaMelo. So definitely keep an eye out for his line. We see a lot of value there to go on the over, especially with the hot hand that he has had and with the easy matchup that he does face off against, which is the Utah Jazz. And, no disrespect to Utah Jazz fans there, but LaMelo Ball, 28.5 points, rebounds, and assists for more, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Nikola Vucevic. So Nikola Vucevic, great player, and this one is for points, rebounds, and assists, or PRA, for 34.5, and this one is for less. Now looking at Nikola Vucevic, we have seen him go on the under in 2 out of the last 5 games. Looking at those 5 games, you see on January 1st, faced off against New Orleans Pelicans, had 30 points, rebounds, and assists there. Then January 3rd, faced off against Orlando, had 32 points, rebounds, and assists. January 4th, faced off against none other than Charlotte Hornets and had a 43 PRA there. And then January 6th, faced off against Boston Celtics and had a 37 PRA. He then finished off in his most recent matchup on January 8th against Detroit Pistons and actually had a 40 PRA there. So very, very interesting to see from Nikola Vucevic. But looking at this matchup, we do also know that when it comes to actually, Nikola himself, we did see that his average over the last 5 is 36.4. So it is slightly above this line, but we do still very much like the under for it. Now, one of the big reasons is starting with the matchup that they do face off against, which is the Dallas Mavericks. Now, looking at both of these teams, Chicago and Dallas, starting off with Chicago Bulls and where they do rank, they currently rank 10th in the Eastern Conference. So they've actually done a pretty decent job. They aren't actually in the playoff picture just yet, but they are trying their best to push for it. Now, they do actually have 17 wins, 20 losses under their belt, and they also have a 45.9% win percentage there. Now, they're also 10-9 from home, 7-11 from away, and are currently on a 3-game losing streak. So, very, very interesting to see from them. Now, looking at Vucevic and also Chicago, we also do see them facing off against a Dallas team who are somewhat in a similar position because Dallas Mavericks do come in at the actual 12th spot in the Western Conference, however, and they have a record of 14 wins and 24 losses. So that's a 36.8% win percentage there. They're also 10-10 from home, 4-13 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So very interesting to see from them. Now, looking at this matchup, we do also know when it comes to actually, Chicago and Dallas, we do also see Dallas Mavericks defensively starting off with points allowed. They do rank 18th, actually allowing 116.9 points per game. Now we move to assist allowed, we see that Dallas Mavericks do rank in somewhat of a similar-ish type position as they do actually rank 14th and only allow 26.6 assists per game. Then rebounds allowed, we also do see that Dallas Mavericks come in somewhat of a little bit worser position, but they do rank 29th, actually allowing 47.4 rebounds per game. So unfortunately for that, yes, Dallas do rank a little bit low in some categories and a little bit lower in others, but we still do very much like the under for this, and it is due to two main reasons. The first being is that when we actually look at Dallas Mavericks, we do see that they do a fantastic job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the actual center position. So we definitely see someone like Nikola Vucevic going on the under here due to that. Well, when we also look at actually, Dallas and the matchup against Chicago, we do see Chicago and Nikola Vucevic himself has faced off against much easier teams over the last 5 games. And yes, he has done well going on the over in as I mentioned, a couple of games, or 3 being exact. But what we do see that being is that we have seen that it's overinflated this line, and now there's a lot more value actually to go on the under. Now that he does face off against a much tougher team when it comes to, restricting centers, we definitely see that having a huge effect here, and why we do like the under for it. Now for someone like Vucevic and also Chicago, we do see, looking at what the pros do have for him. Now, obviously, we have him for a PRA of a 34.5. Now, the pros do have him at 33.5, so it is a little bit of a different line there. So it is a little bit difficult to actually go off, or definitely take a look at what the bookies are saying, because it is a very, very different line there. But looking at this, we do also see that the projection that they do have is 33.4. So their projection is 33.4. We have him for 34.5, so that will actually technically be on the under for us. So for that reason, we are agreeing with the actual projection here, which I think is fantastic to see. And we definitely see someone like Nikola Vucevic going on the under here. Now, coming into this matchup, we do also know when it actually comes to Vucevic, we did see over the last 15 games, yes, he has gone on the under quite a lot. He's gone on the under in actually almost about 70% of those matchups, 67% to be exact, and we definitely see that being enough to see someone like him go on the under. Unfortunately, Vucevic doesn't have the highest usage rate in this team, and we definitely see him going on the under here. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for Vucevic. So Nikola Vucevic, 34.5 points, rebounds, and assists for less, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about Kawhi Leonard. So Kawhi Leonard, great player as we all know. Now this one is a points and rebounds one, so this one's also another combo for actually 31.5, and this one is for more. Now, looking at Kawhi Leonard, we have seen him go on the over in 2 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, you see on January 2nd, faced off against Utah Jazz, actually had 52 points and rebounds there. Then January 4th, faced off against Boston Celtics, had a 25 points and rebounds game there. Then January 6th, faced off against Golden State Warriors, had 36 points and rebounds. Then 28 points and rebounds against New York Knicks on January 8th. And then January 10th, faced off against Brooklyn Nets and had a 31 points and rebounds combo there. So we actually have seen, when it comes to Kawhi, as I mentioned, go on the over in 2 out of the last 5 games. But looking at his average over the last 5, it is also 34.4. So he's definitely done a fantastic job there. Now, looking at someone like Kawhi and also, the LA Clippers, they have themselves a very, very good matchup against the Detroit Pistons. Now, it is definitely going to be an exciting game between both of these teams. Looking at where both these teams do lie, starting off with actually LA Clippers. Clippers come in at the 11th spot in the Western Conference. They have a record of 14 wins and 23 losses. That's a 37.8% win percentage there. They're also 9-9 from home, 5-14 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very, very interesting to see from them there. Now, looking at a team like Clippers, they're facing off against a top team in the Eastern Conference, which is Detroit Pistons, as Pistons do come in at the number 1 spot. Now, they do have a record of 28 wins and 9 losses. That's a 75.7% win percentage there. They're also 14-3 from home, 13-6 from away, and are currently on a 3-game win streak. So they've definitely done a fantastic job there. Now, coming into this matchup, we do also know when it comes to actually, Kawhi Leonard, he faces off against a Detroit Pistons team that do rank, starting off with points allowed, Detroit Pistons do rank 4th, actually allowing 111.6 points per game. So they do very, very well there. And then rebounds allowed, we also do see that Detroit Pistons rank 4th, actually allowing 41.2 rebounds there as well. So looking at that, we have definitely seen Kawhi Leonard actually go, on the over 2 out of the last 5. And he does face off against a tough Detroit team. So why do we still like the over for this? And that's due to the fact that when we look on a per position basis, we are expecting a very different story. Looking at someone like Kawhi, what we actually have seen when it comes to him is that Kawhi is a forward, and Detroit just really, really do struggle against his position. Now, when we also look at someone like Kawhi, he's definitely, kind of had a pretty interesting season because he has missed a majority of somewhat of these games so far. He is coming back and he is producing a lot for this team. I do believe that the bookies aren't really getting these lines right correctly, and I definitely see there being a lot more value actually to go on the over. Now, he has struggled a little bit in these most recent games, but it was against much tougher defenses, especially to the forward position. And Kawhi is still slowly, I can definitely tell he is on some sort of minute restriction. And when it comes to blowout situations, he definitely does get taken off early. So Kawhi's sort of play style has been, a little bit very different than normal when it comes to out of the latest games. But into this matchup against Detroit, we should see something very different. But we do believe that those games where he has gone on the unders, it's definitely brought this line a little bit too low, that now there's a lot more value actually to go on the over. Now, looking at someone like Kawhi, obviously we like him for points and rebounds. Now, we have him for 32.5, and so do the pros. And the bookies actually have him favored for the over as well. So they're actually agreeing with us there, which is what we like to see. That definitely works out in our favor as the bookies agree with us. But what we also do know when it comes to actually Kawhi, we do also see that the projection is actually 32. So, it is pretty interesting to see. Obviously, the projection is slightly on the under, but we are going a little bit against the projection here, which is why we do very, very much like the over for this one. So I definitely would keep an eye out for the over for someone like Kawhi Leonard coming into this game. We just see a lot of value there to go on the over, especially the way how it's been going so far. So for that reason, Kawhi definitely like the over for this one. So Kawhi Leonard, 32.5 points and rebounds, 4 more, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so getting into the next pick, we're going to be talking about Keyonte George. So looking at Keyonte George, this one is a great one for actually points and rebounds. So another combo pick for 30.5, and this one actually is for more. Now, looking at Keyonte, we actually have seen him go on the over in 2 out of the last 5 games. Looking at those 5 games, you see on December 31st, faced off against Boston Celtics, had a 43 points and rebounds in that matchup. January 4th, faced off against the Golden State Warriors, also had 24 points and rebounds, had 19 points and rebounds against Portland Trail Blazers on January 6th. Then January 8th, faced off against Oklahoma City Thunder, had 32 points and rebounds, and 22 points and rebounds against Dallas on January 9th. So very, very interesting to see. Obviously, looking at someone like Keyonte, we have actually seen him go on the over, as I mentioned, in 2 out of the last 5. But what we also do see is that his average over the last 5 is 28. So yes, it is slightly, below, his actual line. But coming into this matchup, we do very much like it because Keyonte George and the Utah Jazz have themselves a matchup against none other than actually Charlotte Hornets. Now, looking at, Utah and Charlotte, looking at where both these teams do lie, starting off with Utah Jazz. Jazz have actually come in at the 13th spot in the Western Conference, and they actually have a record of 13 wins and 24 losses. So it does rank them 13th, so not really in the playoff picture. They have a 35.1% win percentage there, and also 9-11 from home, 4-13 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very, very interesting to see there. Now, looking at Charlotte come in at the 12th spot in the Eastern Conference. They have a record of 13 wins and 25 losses, so somewhat similar there. But what we also do see is that when it actually comes to this, we do also know that Charlotte and, Utah are pretty evenly, ranked in their conference in a sense that they both rank pretty similar. Now, looking at Charlotte defensively, however, this is where we see a little bit of a different story because looking at Charlotte Hornets, we see that they rank 20th when it actually comes to points allowed. We also do know that, they actually allow 117.2 points per game. When it comes to rebounds allowed, we also do see that Charlotte Hornets do rank, I would say a little bit better, since they do rank second. So they actually have a 40.5 or allow 40.5 rebounds per game. So they don't really allow a lot. But why do we like the over for this? And that's due to the fact that when we look at Charlotte Hornets, we actually do see they do a poor job at restricting points and rebounds to the guard position. So we definitely see someone like Keyonte George being able to take advantage of this and go on the over here. Now, when we look at actually Keyonte George over, the last 5 games, he has faced off against much tougher teams. And it's definitely, had him struggle a little bit with his line. But now that he does face off against a much easier matchup, we should see a little bit of a different story here for when it comes to Keyonte George. So, as I mentioned, Charlotte not only do a poor job at restricting, points and rebounds to the actual guard position, but we also do know coming into this matchup is that Charlotte like to push the pace. So do Utah Jazz. So we are expecting a very, very fast-paced game coming into this one, and we definitely do very much like the over for this one. So I definitely would keep an eye out for it. Now, as we've always mentioned, more pace leads to more volume and more opportunity to score and rebound. So that's what we are expecting here. But looking at what the pros do have to say of it, so obviously we have them for 30.5 for points and rebounds. Now they actually have them for 31.5, so it is a little bit of a different line there. Now, obviously, because of that, it is kind of difficult to go off what the actual bookies say because it is a different line. So the odds are a little bit different for sure. But looking at something else, we do see projection-wise, it isn't actually lining up with our projection because we are going a little bit against the grain here. They have been projected for 24.1 points and rebounds. For that is an under, but we are expecting the over for Keyonte. Now, when we actually look at the line we have, which is 30.5, we do see has gone on the over slightly more than 50%, is actually gone on the over in 53% of those games. So we definitely see that being enough to see someone like Keyonte go on the over here, especially with the matchup. We definitely do very, very much like the over for this one. So for that reason, Keyonte George, 30.5 points and rebounds for more, I think is a fantastic pick.